Disclaimer: this story contains mature themes intended for adult viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. The room hummed in silence, broken only by the steady whir of the ceiling fan as it pushed cool air across my damp skin. I had just stepped out of the shower, my night dress clinging to me, light fabric tracing the curves of my body, still slightly wet. The soft cotton cooled rapidly, sending a shiver through me as I lay back on the bed, trying to relax, but something in the air felt charged. Unsettled. Then, the door creaked. I didn't move. Didn't sit up. But I knew it wasn't the wind. He stepped in quietly, not saying a word, like he belonged there. Like this wasn't the most fragile line to walk. My stepson. Tall, broad-shouldered now, no longer the boy I once met years ago. He had grown into his own gravity, and it pulled at me in ways I didn't have words for. His presence filled the space, and my breath caught before I could hide it. He sat down on the edge of the bed, so close I could feel the warmth radiating off his body. A faint trace of cologne drifted into the air, spicy, clean, and unfamiliar. I hadn't noticed it before. It was new. Intentionally worn? My pulse quickened. "You're not asleep," he said quietly, not a question. A knowing statement. His voice low, teasing. I turned my head just slightly, and there it was, his gaze. Direct. Not careless like before. Not casual. He was watching me, not like a boy with puppy love, but a man seeing a woman. "You shouldn't be in here," I managed, but my voice wasn't firm. It trembled. And I hated that it did. He smiled, just a little. Not arrogant. Just bold enough. "I didn't think you'd tell me to leave." The fan blew over my neck and arms again, raising goosebumps. But it wasn't the fan. He reached over, slowly, picking up the edge of the blanket near my thigh like he was about to tuck me in, but his hand paused there, barely grazing my skin. Not touching, but close enough to feel. I didn't move. I couldn't. My heart was pounding, too loud in my ears, drowning out everything else. He didn't say another word. And I didn't stop him. He didn't move after sitting down. Just stayed there, quiet, still. Like he was waiting for me to say something. Like he knew I wouldn't. The fan spun above us, rhythmic and slow. My breath came in quiet waves, chest rising and falling under the thin fabric of my night dress that still clung to me. I could feel the outline of his presence. Too close. But not touching. Not yet. I closed my eyes for a moment. Just long enough to collect myself. But memories flooded in instead. He hadn't always looked at me like this. Not when I first married his father. Back then, he barely spoke. Always tucked behind headphones or his phone. A teenager trying to survive a broken home. I remember trying to reach out, cooking for him, asking about school, trying to be someone he could talk to. But he kept a wall up. A quiet resentment, maybe. Or confusion. I never asked which. Then the years passed. His father, my husband, became more of a ghost in our lives. Business trips. Cold dinners. Missed anniversaries. His affection thinned like a fog lifting too fast. I told myself it was normal. That marriages go through phases. That we get back to us. But we never did. Meanwhile, his son changed. His voice deepened. His jawline sharpened. His laughter became rare but meaningful when it happened. He started holding the door open, watching me when he thought I didn't notice. He knew when I was sad, even before I did. Last week, he made me tea before bed. Just placed it on the table beside me and said, "You've looked tired lately." The way he said it, it wasn't just polite. It felt careful. Intentional. Like he saw me in a way no one else had in years. And now here he was. Sitting beside me like we'd crossed 1,000 invisible boundaries without a word. "I used to wonder what you were thinking when you looked at me," he murmured suddenly, eyes still fixed on the blanket between us. "Now I think I know." His voice startled me. Not because it was loud, but because it echoed something I hadn't dared admit. There was so much I could have said. About his father. About the years of loneliness. About how confusing this all was. Instead, I shifted. Just slightly. My knee brushed against his. He looked at me then, really looked. His eyes were calm but fierce, searching mine for something I wasn't sure I had the strength to give. My heart stuttered. The air between us crackled again, silent and full. And still, no one moved. The silence between us thickened, filled with everything we hadn't said over the years. He was still there, too close, his body angled toward me like he couldn't decide whether to stay or lean in. And I was dangerously okay with that. His fingers toyed with the edge of the blanket again, distractedly, like he was fighting himself. His jaw tightened. He wasn't looking at me anymore. He was staring ahead, brows furrowed. I knew that look. I had seen it before, when he was trying to suppress something. Something strong. "I saw you with him today," he said quietly, suddenly. His voice was even, but laced with something sharp beneath it. I blinked. "With who?" "You know who." A friend. A guest. A harmless afternoon coffee that now felt exposed. "You laughed," he continued, his tone calm but bitter. "You never laugh like that with him." I sat up straighter, suddenly alert. "Are you jealous?" His eyes flicked to mine instantly. There it was, unfiltered. The look that had haunted me in fragments. Possessive. Raw. "I don't like seeing you smile at someone who doesn't deserve you." I should have said it was inappropriate. That he was crossing a line. That he needed to stop. But I didn't. Instead, I let my breath catch, just a little, and didn't look away. "You think you get to decide who deserves me?" I whispered. His hand stilled. His lips parted, as if he had an answer. But none came. He reached for the lamp switch beside the bed, stopped halfway, and let his hand drop. The light stayed on. Like even he didn't trust what would happen in the dark. "I've wanted to say this for months," he said finally, voice low and broken. "But I didn't want to ruin everything." Too late, I thought. The air was already ruined. Tainted with this pull. This hunger. I swallowed hard. "Then don't say it." Our eyes locked again, bold now, open, wounded. "I don't have to," he said. "You already feel it too." The truth between us shimmered in the charged stillness. Forbidden. Real. The storm outside had rolled in quicker than expected. Wind lashed gently at the windows, thunder rumbling low in the distance, the lights flickering just once, enough to make everything feel even more still. More intimate. The house was quiet. Too quiet. Everyone else was gone for the weekend. It wasn't planned that way. But here we were. Alone. I stood in the kitchen, fingers wrapped around a mug of tea I hadn't even touched. The air felt heavier than it should, like it was laced with something electric, waiting to spark. I heard his footsteps before I saw him. Slow. Intentional. He leaned against the door frame, arms crossed, just watching me. His t-shirt clung slightly from the rain, dampening his hair. His chest rose and fell slowly. "You knew they weren't coming back tonight," he said, voice low. I turned slowly. "And you stayed anyway." He didn't answer. He just took a step forward. The tension didn't just build. It cracked open, spilling into the space between us. I set the mug down. My hands were shaking. He walked closer until the kitchen light caught the edge of his eyes, dark, unreadable, but blazing with something he wasn't hiding anymore. "Tell me to leave," he said, standing just inches away. I should have. Every nerve in my body told me I should. But all I could feel was heat from his nearness, from his voice, from something deep inside that had been buried far too long. "I can't," I whispered. He leaned in, not touching me, just his breath grazing the edge of my jaw. "Why?" My heart thundered in my chest, louder than the rain now battering the roof. "Because I don't want you to." He exhaled, slow, shaky, like he'd been waiting to hear that for a lifetime. His forehead almost touched mine, the tension at its peak, everything screaming to close the distance. Then a loud knock at the front door. We froze. Neither of us moved. Neither of us dared breathe. The knock echoed through the house like a warning shot. We stood frozen in the kitchen, the space between us pulsing with everything that had built up over months, no, years. The tea had gone cold. The storm raged on outside. My chest tightened as the knock came again, louder this time. More urgent. He looked at me, his lips parted, his chest rising with tension. Are you expecting someone? I shook my head. I wasn't. I was sure no one should be here. Not tonight. I moved toward the front door slowly, bare feet silent against the floor. He followed, just a step behind. Close enough to feel his heat again. Close enough that, even in this moment of tension, I wanted to lean back into him. I pulled the door open. And everything collapsed. There he was, my husband. Drenched from the rain, suitcase still in hand. He wasn't supposed to be home until Monday. But there was something in his eyes. Something that said he had seen more than I wanted him to. His gaze flicked past me to the man standing behind me. His son. The silence screamed. I forgot my passport, he said coldly, stepping inside. His eyes didn't leave mine. Didn't expect a welcome party. I backed up, heartbeat thudding in my ears. We weren't, save it, he muttered, brushing past me. His wet coat touched my arm, and I flinched like I'd been burned. You think I didn't notice it before? He turned to his son. You think I didn't see the way you looked at her when you thought I wasn't watching? My stepson didn't flinch. Didn't apologize. He stepped forward, matching his father's glare. Maybe you should have been watching her a little closer. I gasped softly, my hand instinctively reaching for something, anything, to anchor myself. My husband laughed once. Bitter. So that's it? My wife and my son. I tried to speak, but nothing came out. He turned away and walked toward the staircase. You two deserve each other. Then, without another word, he was gone. Upstairs. The door slammed shut. I stood in the middle of the hallway, trembling. Behind me, I felt his hand, the sun, rest gently on the small of my back. Not possessive. Not forceful. Just there. I'm not sorry, he whispered. I turned toward him, searching his face. I should be, I whispered back. But I'm not either. And then, slowly, deliberately, we stepped into the quiet space where everything had already changed. The rain hadn't stopped. It poured steadily outside, washing the world clean, but inside, the air was thick with everything that had been broken, spoken, and left behind. The next morning, the house felt colder. Empty in a different way. He, my husband, had left before sunrise. No goodbye. No note. Just the hollow sound of the front door closing and the lingering scent of his cologne in the hallway. His silence said everything. I sat at the kitchen table, staring at my untouched coffee. My hands trembled slightly, not from fear, but from the weight of what had unraveled. The storm had passed, but the damage remained. He stepped in, the younger one. My stepson. No longer hesitating, no longer uncertain. His eyes held everything we hadn't dared say out loud. You didn't sleep, he said gently. I looked up. Neither did you. He nodded, then moved closer. He's gone. I know. The weight of our choices pressed in. It wasn't just about last night. It was about the long years of emotional absence, of longing buried under duty, of something real forced into shadow. I didn't plan for this, I whispered, voice cracking. I didn't want to hurt anyone. But you did, he said quietly. So did I. Tears welled in my eyes. It wasn't supposed to happen. He knelt beside me, taking my hand, not like a boy seeking approval, but like a man owning what he'd done. Then let's not pretend it didn't. The silence that followed was painful and raw. I pulled my hand away. I need time, I said. To think. To breathe. To figure out who I am, without all of this. He nodded. I'll wait. As long as it takes. I looked at him, really looked, and saw not the boy I helped raise, but the man who saw through me in a way no one else ever had. I'm not asking you to wait, I whispered. But I'm not asking you to leave either. We stood there, locked in a moment that balanced between ruin and rebirth. We both knew the road ahead wasn't clean. But it was honest now. And maybe that was enough for now. In the corner of the room, the sun finally broke through the clouds. Light spilled across the floor. A new day. Days had passed since everything came undone. The house had grown quieter, but not in a way that felt lonely anymore, more like it had exhaled. The tension that once crept through every room had lifted, replaced by a strange, cautious peace. I had taken time to be alone. I needed it to face what I had done, what I had felt, and what I still wanted. Guilt had come in waves, yes. But so had clarity. And he never pushed. He gave me space. Until tonight. I was sitting on the porch, wrapped in a sweater, watching the sky turn from gold to rose as the sun dipped low. The air smelled like summer, warm grass, distant rain, something fresh. I heard the door open behind me, quiet steps I already knew. He sat beside me without a word. For a long time, we didn't speak. Just watched the horizon breathe. Then he asked softly, "Do you regret it?" I looked at him. The same eyes that once watched me from a distance, now filled with patience and something deeper. "No," I said. "I regret how it happened. But not what I felt. Not what I still feel." He exhaled a soft, unsteady breath that told me he'd been waiting for that answer more than he let on. "I'm not going anywhere," he said, turning to me. "Not unless you ask me to." I smiled faintly. "You always say the right thing now." He chuckled. "I learned from the wrong ones." A quiet beat passed. Then I reached for his hand. No hesitation this time. No stolen glances. Just warmth, real and open, as our fingers laced together like they always should have. We leaned into each other, and it wasn't a secret anymore. No rush. No storm. Just two people, choosing something softer, something honest. The sun dipped lower, casting golden light across our faces. It felt like a beginning, not an ending. And for the first time in a long time, I felt peace. Love, real love, doesn't always come in the form we expect. But when it does, it's not about what's easy. It's about what's true.